Hello, Oscar. It's Grandpa again. It was lovely to be able to share Halloween with you just now. I hope you got the video okay and that you're going to have lots of fun today. So, I thought I would read you a little bit more about the puzzled penguin. It's a lovely story, isn't it? And if you remember, Zoe and Meep were in the enclosure and they had met the two penguins who live at the zoo, and one was called Poppy and one was called Pearl, and then they had to leave, and they were telling Pip that Pip was going to be okay in the enclosure with the other penguins, but she wasn't happy, and she was cheeping and hopping up and down. And Zoe and Meep looked at each other sadly as they heard Pip peeping for them from inside the enclosure. Zoe's heart melted. She flung open the enclosure door and the tiny penguin rushed out so fast he bumped into her legs. "Yay!" Meep chattered. "Can he live with us?" Zoe looked determined as Pip hopped up and down happily. "No," she told them. "Pip belongs here with the penguins and we're going to prove it to him." So there we are. It's now chapter 8 and it's Pip and the flamingo. Do you see the big bird? That's called a flamingo. I expect you know about them. Anyway, so something's going to happen in this chapter. Zoe set back off into the zoo with Meep scampering ahead and Pip waddling behind her. "What are we going to do, Zoe?" chattered Meep. "We're going to take Pip around the zoo and introduce him to some of the other animals," Zoe explained. "Maybe then he'll see that he belongs with the penguins." The zoo gates had just opened and the first visitors of the day were streaming inside. Everyone gasped to see the tiny penguin walking along the path, and lots of people pulled out their cameras and started snapping photos. It must have been a funny sight, I have to admit. "Pip, watch out for all these feet. I don't want you to get squashed," Zoe whispered. "Let's turn on to the next path. It's a bit quieter there." They passed the rhinos. Whoa, they're big, aren't they, Oscar? The peacocks. Oh, you saw a peacock when you were over here, when we went to Abbotsbury. And the giant tortoise, Charles, who was the rescue zoo's oldest animal. "Which enclosure shall we visit first?" Zoe chirped me. Before Zoe could reply, Pip peeped excitedly and flapped his little wings. He began waddling away very quickly. Zoe frowned and followed him. What had he spotted? Meep realised which enclosure the chick was heading towards. "He's going to the flamingos," he said. There they all are, look. There's the flamingos. They've got very long legs, haven't they? Whoa. Anyway, the little chick gazed through a gap in the fence, fluttering his tail feathers happily. The flamingos were perched in the middle of a shallow pond, each one balancing on one of their long legs. There they are, look, they're only standing on one leg. Whoa. With the other leg tucked underneath their bodies. Their feathers were a pretty pink colour, and their slender necks and heads a slightly darker pink. Great Uncle Horace had explained to Zoe that the brighter the colour of a flamingo, the healthier and happier it was. All the birds at the rescue zoo were especially bright and beautiful. Isn't that wonderful, Oscar? The little penguin looked up at Zoe hopefully and gave a little peep. Zoe had to smile. "Yes, they're birds like you," she admitted, "but they're a different type of bird. You're definitely not a flamingo, Pip." Pip stared at the pink birds and cheeped stubbornly. Zoe smiled down at him. "OK, Pip, we can go inside if you want, but I promise you're a penguin." She unlocked the gate using her paw print charm and walked in, followed by Meep and Pip. All at the same time, the flamingo swiveled round to look at Zoe and squawked a friendly greeting. One of them stalked gracefully up to the edge of the pond and gently nuzzled Zoe with his beak. She was one of the smallest birds, with a splash of black among the pink feathers above her beak. "Hi, Fifi," Zoe began. "This is Pip. He arrived yesterday with Great Uncle Horace." She hesitated, not sure how to explain Pip's problem. Of course, Pip didn't know anything about, did he, Oscar, about any of the, who he was. He'd never seen a penguin, so he didn't know that the penguins were like him, or that he was like penguins. Cheeky Pip piped up, but he thinks he might be a flamingo. Pip peeped enthusiastically and flapped his wings. So we wondered, continued Zoe, if you could show him what flamingos do. The flamingo looked at the little chick curiously, but bobbed her long neck up and down in agreement. Fifi stepped out of the pond and bent her neck down low so that she could speak to the little chick. Zoe and Meep both giggled to see him standing with the tall, slender, colourful flamingos. The tiny chick looked nothing like Fifi and her family. I wonder what Fifi's saying, Zoe whispered to Meep. They soon found out. Pip watched carefully as Fifi raised one leg up and tucked it away underneath her feathery body. The flamingo nodded kindly and Pip lifted one of his webbed orange feet up. The little chick wobbled and, of course, Oscar fell right over on his fluffy bottom. There he is, look. There's Pip trying to stand up on one leg. Don't think he's going to be very successful. Meep collapsed on the ground, giggling. Naughty Meep, Zoe scolded. Don't laugh at poor Pip. She rushed over to help Pip to his feet. The little penguin shook himself and cheeped sadly as he waddled away from the water. Zoe smiled gently. No, I don't think you're a flamingo either, Pip. Come on, let's try somewhere else. Thank you for helping us, Fifi. Fifi squawked goodbye. Don't worry, Meep chirped. We won't let you fall over again, Pip. Which animal shall we visit next? The little chick cheeped excitedly and rushed forwards again. Zoe had to try very hard not to laugh when she saw which enclosure Pip was heading for this time. The zebras, squeaked Meep. Zoe, does Pip really think he might be a zebra? They're not even birds. I think it must be because they're black and white, said Zoe, smiling. Come on, Meep, let's go and say hello to Cleo. Cleo the zebra. Pip cheeped eagerly and Zoe scooped him up. Meep leapt onto her shoulder and curled his furry tail around her neck. Zoe opened the gate with her paw print necklace and walked inside. The enclosure was a huge stretch of warm rocky forest, dotted with star, chestnut and acacia trees. The zebras were in the middle of eating a big pile of golden hay and a mound of carrots. Wow, do you like carrots, Oscar? I think you do. I don't know about a mound of carrots, that does sound a lot. When they saw Zoe, they all whinnied and snorted to say hello. Cleo trotted over shyly. She had the most beautiful striped coat of jet black and pure white. Her huge shiny eyes were framed with long lashes. Zoe stroked her muzzle gently. It felt like it was made of soft, warm velvet. When you go riding, Oscar, you'll be able to stroke the muzzle of the ponies there, and you'll find they're very soft and warm. Zoe introduced Pip to Cleo and explained the problem. Cleo snorted gently and trotted back to where the rest of her family were munching away. She pulled up a big mouthful of hay and brought it over, placing it carefully at Zoe's feet. Zoe looked at the pile of hay uncertainly. Pip looked at the pile of hay too. He didn't know what to do with it. He glanced up at Zoe and cheeped. Zoe giggled. Zebras don't eat fish, Pip. This is called hay. It's what zebras eat. Would you like to try some? Look, there's the zebra with the hay in its mouth. Look. And Pip is looking up, wondering what's going to happen next. So the little penguin shook his head and cheeped again, sadly this time. I don't think you're a zebra either, Pip, Zoe said gently. Never mind. They said goodbye and left the enclosure. As they walked back onto the path, the tiny chick waddled along very slowly, making an unhappy peeping noise. Zoe knelt down to stroke his little belly. Don't be sad, Pip, she whispered. As they trooped along, Will rushed past, clutching a stack of colourful papers and a packet of blue tack. There you are, Zoe, he said. Has little Pip been behaving himself? I've made some posters for the penguin feeding show, so I'm just going to stick a few up around the zoo. He waved the papers in the air. How are the ticket sales going today? He added hopefully. Zoe gasped. the tickets. She had meant to go to the hut after bringing Pip to meet the colony, but she'd been so busy trying to help the little chick, she had completely forgotten. Whoa, so what do you think happens, Oscar? Well, we're going to read about that next time. And I don't know. They haven't sold any tickets, have they? So we'll find out next time. Anyway, it's been lovely reading to you. And hope you have a fun Halloween day. And lots of love from Granny and me. And, of course, from Moosey. So, Moosey, we're going to say bye-bye to Oscar and Annabelle. Mummy and Daddy? Yep, we'll do that. Yep, you're okay? Okay, so bye-bye for now, Oscar. Bye. And Moosey says bye-bye, bye-bye. See you soon. Bye.